Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. I'm your co-host for today, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. And good morning, Ellen.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, last time we started our little sessions on organic gardening, so today we're going to pick up on that, aren't we?
That's right, we
Okay,
are.
and we're going to start off by talking about what should you plant in your garden, or what do you need to be really concerned about. And I like to divide things into groups, as everybody knows. Okay, and I have things that are divided into things that are relatively easy to care for, and then things that present a little bit more of a challenge.
Okay.
Ellen, what are some of those things that fit into that first category of relatively carefree, if you will, relatively carefree, not
Relatively.
completely.
Okay. Right. Right. These are going to be ideas that are for a new gardener or even maybe a gardener that wants to transition to organic gardening because some crops are easier to grow organically than others. Most of your greens, like your lettuce, spinach, chard, collards, and your peas, beans, onions, radishes, beets, carrots. If you notice, the last four are root crops. They're easy if you follow reasonable cultural practices, things that I like to talk about a lot, which is weeding, enriching your soil, watering correctly, keeping the moisture even, and making sure that you have your garden in an appropriate spot where it gets enough sunlight. And really, you should be pretty successful if you kind of follow in that pattern to begin with. Hmm.
You're right, and
Hmm.
eh, those crops are relatively pest free. Okay,
Hmm.
if you follow those good cultural practices like you mentioned, but there's some others that are always going to be a challenge, even if you follow the good cultural practices. And those are things like your broccoli and your cabbage, cucumbers in particular, at least for me, the zucchini and summer squash, tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, melons, corn. These really require a little bit, a little bit more attention, maybe some special vigilance, okay, for insects and disease. And you, you got to keep in mind that you got to learn a little bit about, okay, what particular insects or diseases bother these particular plants, so that you can kind of zero in on recognizing when they happen to occur. So
Hmm.
there's a couple of other things, Ellen. Also, you want to keep your garden in some kind of a manageable
Right.
location, don't you?
Right. Manageable location and reasonable size. Don't make your garden too big when you first start, but you don't want it to be too small either, depending on what you want to plant. Because also you want to have proper spacing for those plants. And that's a key to being successful for growing most of your plants, if not all, but at least most of them. They need a lot of air, they need room to grow. So you want to
Okay.
make sure you have proper spacing for your
Okay.
plants.
Ellen, I think I
Hmm.
need to back up a little bit and give our
Okay.
listeners a little bit better idea of being vigilant about particular insects. Two things I'd like you
Oh,
to do.
yeah.
Number one, okay, Ellen and I have done some other programs that are zero in on squash, tomatoes, peppers, okay, in particular, okay, and the others, cucumbers, broccoli, about the
Hmm.
particular insects that you need to watch for with these, and how you
Okay.
address those particular uh, insects. Now, in
Hmm.
all of our previous programs are now listed on the Erie County Library website under resources. If you go to resources and then go to garden info slash seed saving, okay, you'll
Hmm.
find all of the programs there.
Right.
Because we can't address all of that information in a 3 session summary of organic gardening. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. The other thing is that, if you want more information, you need to go to advanced Google, okay, which will
Hmm.
get you to the university sites, and plug in some information on subject line where it says, insects that, attack cucumbers, say. Okay, and then just go right down to search, well, excuse me, right down to domain and hit .edu. That'll take you to the university sites.
Hmm.
So I needed to clarify that. So
Right. Good.
so
Hmm.
as far as planting, when to plant, Cool weather crops such as lettuce and spinach and radishes and peas, onions, beets, typically they can be planted in the spring as soon as the soil can be worked without getting it to clump. The soil needs to be dry enough so that you're not making a mess of your garden. And
Mm-hmm.
typically they can withstand some kind of a light to moderate frost. Broccoli, cabbage, and a few others can follow shortly after that. But some of these crops can actually be planted in the fall for a fall harvest also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just the other day I planted some spinach along with some bok choy. In fact, I looked at things this morning and they're starting to come up already, so that's good.
All right.
Okay, so and this is what, the 24th, 25th of August.
Right. 25th. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about warm weather crops, Ellen?
Well, warm weather crops like your tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, potatoes, beans, squash, cucumbers, corn, and the list goes on and on. You probably want to wait a few weeks after the last frost in the spring because they can't take really cool weather. So your soil and night temperatures should be above 55 degrees to be successful.
You're right, and
Hmm.
I can't emphasize enough the importance of waiting to
Yeah.
until the
Don't get
soil
anxious.
and the night temperatures warm up. Once
Right.
things warm up, everything grows very quickly. If you put it in when the soil's too cold, the plants are just going to sit there and they're going to be exposed to pests and diseases that are going to cause
Hmm.
problems later on in the growing cycle. Wait a
Hmm.
little bit. And I go back to the idea that, again, this year, I even direct seeded some tomatoes in my vegetable garden outside on the 1st of June.
Hmm.
Those tomato plants are as tall as the other ones now, and they have tomatoes. I haven't gotten any ripe ones off of them yet, but
But
I
you have
will. I will in
tomatoes.
the next
Yeah.
10 days. So, and
Right.
that's a direct
Good.
seed in the garden
Hmm.
on June
Hmm.
1st. So,
Hmm.
Ellen, we've kind of used up our time for today. So, we're going to have to pick up on this topic again next time around. So, thank you for
Okay.
listening.